Hello, welcome to WorldVenture in Review, Episode 2. We are featuring Quincy Thompson. I'm going to have him go ahead and introduce himself, who he is, where he's at. He is obviously not in an office today. He is obviously somewhere in the world. I will go ahead and let him kind of introduce himself. Quincy?
Thank you, Nikki. Yeah, happy to be here with everyone. I am in the beautiful state of South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina to be exact, at Columbia International University. It's a beautiful 70 degrees today, so much nicer weather than where I'm from in Virginia. But yeah, I got in yesterday. I'm here with Ralph Thompson, who's also on the WorldVenture team. And we're here at Columbia International University for their missions emphasis week. So I do this full time. Ralph just joined me here for this stop, but I travel and pretty much set up a WorldVenture table, talk to students, have some conversations with them about missions, talk to them about some of our short-term and long-term opportunities. And it's been a lot of fun. So this is I've lost track, fourth, fifth, sixth stop in the fall. So it all kind of blurs together after a while, but it's been a fun fall. This is my actually last stop for the fall semester, and then I'll pick things back up campus-wise in the spring. But it's been a lot of fun.
So if students wanted to connect with you, they can connect with you on Instagram mainly?
Yeah, I'd encourage them, connect with me on Instagram, shoot me a DM. Happy to connect over Instagram or phone, email, any form of communication. I'll be there.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that everyone that I put it into the chat in case you'd any of this contact information. So with that, we are very at WorldVenture thankful for our mobilizers, especially you. I'm thankful that you're on the team and everything. I mean, next week we have a group of missionaries, brand new ones, coming in for training, and I know I'll be there and you won't be there, but I'll be thinking of you. But It is because of you and others that have done a lot of the hard work of what we call sending and sustaining that our people at WorldVenture headquarters are part of the team of the missionary. There's so much work behind it that before we can send a missionary, and then to sustain the missionary, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes and continually training them. For instance, I offer quarterly refresher courses on social media. And then there's also training from others, finance and everything else. We've got Paraclete, which is awesome. When you go through different situations overseas and stuff, we have the support that we give these missionaries. So let's talk about what is your favorite place that you found to hang out at where you're located right now?
Wow, that's a good one. So I'm just new to campus. This is my first time at CIU. So I'm still kind of learning the ins and outs of where to go. I was in the library, but the library closed for the sessions. And so I'm currently outside the library, but it's a beautiful campus. They actually have a prayer tower on the other side of campus that I saw driving in that I haven't had a chance to go to yet, but it's definitely on my list. Me and Ralph went to this Mediterranean spot in downtown Columbia last night for dinner, and it was really good. So that I would have to say is my favorite spot right now, just because I love some Mediterranean food.
Awesome. So let's talk about some of the news coming out of WorldVenture. So we're going to talk about something serious. So Ebola has been kind of briefly in the news in Uganda. So we received, Jan Chin was able to give us an update. So if you guys can all be praying for our people, no one's infected, everything's fine. But they want to, share the love of Christ with people and not the virus itself. So they're trying to be safe and still have their team meetings. And I know one worker was praying for that the schools don't close because the closures have had an impact on kids. So be praying for that. Be praying for the fear, be praying for a solution. And it's not the first time that Africa has had an Ebola thing. This is another time, but it no less needs prayer. So if you guys could put in the chat and pray, that would be great. And I'll send your messages up onto the workers so that maybe your words will encourage them. But another one though is Lisa Schattenberg. They're still in Madagascar, but they're currently in Kenya. Their kids are at, I think, a boarding school down there or something. They're part on campus or something. It was in their newsletter on their site, which is public. But what I find that's interesting is that they highlighted this topic of this year, we were focusing on what it means to be a person of integrity as we journey with Christ. So the context of that is they meet every Tuesday night in a dorm meeting, and they have a time there was like 17 dorm guys plus 3 to 4 station guys and kids who live with their families on campus in their living room. So a lot of food, loud chatter, deep conversations, and reflection. That sounds familiar since you hang out with students all the time. So looking at all this, what does it mean? What are your thoughts on that? Tell me about a perspective of this question between how do kids view this question and young adults and adults would view this question when they're saying they're focusing on what it means to be a person of integrity as they journey with Christ. What does that mean to you? Let's start with the younger people.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would tend to think that most young people, or at least college students, let's say young adults between 18 and 30, would look at that question as it relates to behavior, right? So they'd be looking at, okay, well, a person of integrity, they don't do certain things, they don't practice certain things, they don't say certain words. It's about behavior. And I think a lot of young people with the good intentions in their pursuit to follow Christ focus more on behavior modification rather than heart transformation. And if you really think about that, right, it's kind of backward. So, to follow Christ, we want to have our heart transformed. We want to have our heart melted when we spend time with Jesus, and those behaviors follow. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I used to tell students who I would be discipling or talking to that, hey, sometimes it takes a while for your habits to catch up with your heart, right? Yes. And so just continue to pursue Jesus, follow Jesus, and don't so much focus on behavior modification, because that will only last so long, right? But focus on, what are you putting into your heart? How are you ministering, and how are you ministering to your heart in that sense? And so I would really focus on to be a person of integrity would mean, if you're a person of integrity, that means your heart is close to Jesus. Your heart melts for the things of God. Your heart yearns for the things of God. That's what, in my opinion, what those acts of integrity will follow with that.
Awesome. Yeah. On that, one of our event curator, Elizabeth Harper, on Instagram had actually posted about a few days ago, or actually I posted it on behalf of her. She gave permission to share a really great story. I know we're going to talk about a sticky, kind of almost controversial topic like a tattoo, but it is still, she had a tattoo on her ankle of "step into the water." And so she shared the story behind it. She says, Joshua 3:13-17 is the idea that when God tells you to go, you go, no matter how scary or flooded a river is. If he tells you to walk, you step into the water and stand on the dry ground watching God work. And that is one of our teammates on there who has an enthusiasm and love for others and a heart for hospitality. But it's interesting when we talk about what meanings tattoos have, how we have things, whether on our ankle or even hanging on our walls, and like in my case, to remind us to persevere and keep going. Do you have anything, any kind of reminder that's precious to you, that reminds you to stay focused on what God calls you to do, even as a verse or whatnot?
Yeah. Well, if you go to my house is pretty bare. I live with two other guys, and so we're not interior decorators by any means. And so you walk in, you're like, there's nothing literally on these walls. But it's just a couch and a big TV. That's all we need. That's all guys need right there.
There you go.
That's it. But in terms of reminders, I'm not a very sentimental person, unfortunately. So I don't tend to keep things, but there are some things like, for example, in my journal, writing stuff down in my journal and going back, and every time I go to a service or a church service, I write down notes on the message. And a few weeks ago, I went back and I started doing this in middle school. And it was just so cool to see the perspective of a middle schooler listening to a Sunday message, and then kind of going through the years of like, wow, Lord, like you've really, as a middle school, you're just writing down the basic, stuff. But as I got older, I would write down my thoughts on that point or that topic or that verse. And it was just really cool to see this growth, this maturity happen through the pages of a journal, and so if I've kept stuff, that's what I keep. I typically keep journals or stuff that I've written, but that would be kind of my only way of reminders. But I need your help, Nikki. I don't do very good with pictures on the wall. I need to find something.
Hey, I can bring, next time I know you're going to be in town, I can bring you,
yeah.
You can choose a framed photograph and I can bring one to you.
Please. I need to spruce up those bare walls.
Well, what I have is basically reminders on the wall, but I also have a necklace I bought that reminds me to have wisdom, to pray, it reminds me not to compromise the calling.
Yeah.
So that is my thing. I usually wear it when I'm pretty much thinking I might face a situation where I need to remember the weight of that necklace around my neck, to remember the weight behind God's calling. But yeah, I mean, you do need some more photographs or something.
Yeah.
So we have lots of stuff going on in 2023. So 2023, for all of you who are there, we have a new 2-day course, and it is going to be taught by a ministry partner named Kay Robertson. She goes to this church in a place in Arkansas, very small town. And the church is just love the Lord, and very supportive of her discipleship work in town. She's got a missional heart, but no, she's not ready to be mobilized. But she's doing a 2-day course on the attributes of God, on how to worship God every day. And that's what WorldVenture is offering in partnership to all of you out there, if you're wanting to learn how to worship every day. So tell me, what's your worship look like every day for you? What does it look like?
Well, for me, typically I try to get up and start listening to worship music right away. Love worship music, and so as I get up, getting ready, showering, brushing my teeth, I love to start that day. There's a new album called Endless Praise by Charity Gill. I've listened to that album, I can't tell you how many times. But great. I love worship music that's kind of high energy, it's peppy, it's that's how I love to start my morning. And then typically, I try to read a psalm, proverb a day, and then I typically pick a book of the Bible that I work through bit by bit in conjunction with that. So my worship starts in the morning, right? With worship music, scripture reading, some time in prayer, but also through the it's not just confined to a moment. I think you want to see a movement of worship in your life, right? So someone challenged me just to, hey, could you do something for someone where you didn't expect anything in return, whether that's paying for their coffee or picking up trash that's laying around the
Yeah.
place, or just something like that. That would you do something that you don't care if anyone sees you, don't care if anyone congratulates you, thanks you for doing that. Just think of look for opportunities for you to go the extra step. That could be worship, right, Lord?
Yeah.
Walking around campus, here's a wrapper, man, I'm gonna pick this up, and because hey, you've given this place to us, and we're here, and
Yeah.
got to be good stewards. So just stuff
Exactly.
like that, something so small, so what would seem insignificant, but I think as you do that, it slowly chips away at your heart.
Yes.
Um, so I wouldn't say I'm not the expert. I'm definitely not the best at doing that all the time, but someone challenged me one time to do that, and it was really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we're hoping this 2-day course allows people to realize they can worship. I mean, I think we've got into a consumer culture to where we can take God for granted and everything. So we're praying that this kind of 2-day course, and again, that's another, workers are invited to join, employees are invited to join, support staff, as well as you out in the public, churches, church people, even non-believers. You can feel free to join us. We welcome everyone to come to this thing. It is by registration, and we will have that probably in December for you to start registering. But we also have a couple of other events going on. We have a tentative one coming out next year of how to reach our Muslim friends and how to entertain them while respecting their beliefs. We're working on getting something like that. And we're also going to get a 6-week course on child safety for organizations that are struggling with what policies to place and how to help someone who's been traumatized by abuse. So WorldVenture's got a lot going on in 2023, which makes life very busy. But I want to thank Quincy for coming today. This was a great conversation. Always appreciate Quincy and his smile, his humor, and finding out we have a lot in common. That's a conversation you'll have to see on Instagram. We talked
Yeah.
a lot of good stuff on Instagram. So thank you, Quincy. Thank you for
Thank you,
joining.
Nikki.